So as you are thinking in this unit about redesign and going back and looking at some of the projects and in 1104 and some of the assignments that you have created for your face-to-face class experiences, I wanted to share with you one tool that I use all the time when I'm creating in online teaching spaces that I think is really useful, easy to use, and extremely versatile and agile for so many different things. So this video is actually a video of how I made what you're looking at right now. And the tool that we're going to be talking about here is called Padlet. You've heard me talk about this a million times because it's all I ever talk about. But it's a great tool, and I want to show you quickly how easy it is to use. What you're looking at here is the Padlet dashboard or website. I've already gone to padlet.com. I've set up an account. You don't even need to do that. You can make a Padlet without an account. It's nice to set up an account because then all the Padlets that you create are stored here in your, in your profile. So I'm signed in. You don't have to sign in. When you arrive at Padlet, this button will be at the top right, no matter what you do, called New Padlet, and that's where you want to go. And you don't have to worry about any of this other stuff. Just New Padlet. So click on that, and it creates it. That's it. Done. You've made a Padlet wall. So it's as easy as clicking on one button. This is your new writing space. So you can double click on this area anywhere and you can write. I am writing. Okay. That's kind of a title. Those appear in red, and then other things you write appear in gray below. You can write as much as you want. I have yet to discover a limit of how much text can go into one of these little text boxes. When you're done, you can click out of that box and it becomes a tile. What you've just created becomes a tile, which you can then move in real time around this space wherever you like. In addition to writing on a Padlet wall, you can also add media content with these little icons. So you double click anywhere you like and you can add media, audio, video, links from webs or uploaded files, pictures, etc. So you click this button, add attachment at the bottom. You can put in a URL link here. You can upload a picture from your computer. You can take a photo with your webcam live if you'd like to do that, right? Let's see. Hi. So there's all sorts of things that you can do on Padlet in terms of multimedia content, which is excellent. So it's as simple as that. The next phase of this, the most important thing for what we're considering, is how can you use this to redesign something that you're working on? How can you use this for student writing? How can you incorporate Padlet into Moodle? That's the real trick here, because we're talking about online course design, online writing instruction, and the platform that we're mainly using to deliver this is Moodle, which can at times be very constricting, and perhaps might not even exist soon. So this might all be moot. But anyway, so you can take this and you can easily and very effectively incorporate it into Moodle. So here's what I'm working on for our training course right now. I'm working on this, actually over here, this page for the activity for part 2, which is right now it's sort of in this text format, and I want to change it into something a little more visual and a little more interactive for my students. So to do that, I'm just going to make some space here. And this is the editing box, just like any editing box in Moodle. This looks exactly like any editing box. The magic button here, the one that sometimes is hidden, right? Usually when you go into Moodle, all you see are these icons. This little thing represents, cooler icons, more things you can do. So drop down that button right there, and then look for this little thing, which is this code HTML button. It's like the magic button for Moodle. It lets you do so many new and interesting things. So I'm going to click on the HTML button, and it's going to bring up this gibberish. Well, it's not gibberish. It looks, to me, it looks like I don't really understand the code. Some people totally get it. I'm still working on it. But this is what HTML looks like. It's just computer code, right? The browser that Moodle reads to present things. So again, I'm just going to make some space here. So what we want to do is go find something that looks just like that stuff, with all those less than, greater than signs, and those B's, and those weird symbols. We want to go find that. And we want to find that for our Padlet wall, because what we're trying to do here is we're trying to embed our Padlet wall into Moodle. So to do that, it's super easy. Everything you're going to need for your wall is on this little sidebar, which you can hide or show by clicking this button at the bottom. The most important icon here is the Share Export one. When you click on that, it brings up all these great Share Export options. And what we want is this, right? It kind of looks like what we were just talking about. It has these less than, greater than signs. So anytime you see a less than, greater than sign like this in this kind of format, you probably are looking at an HTML code. So we're going to embed. We're going to copy this whole thing, Command-C or Control-C, copy on your keyboard. And we're going to go back to, not email, back to the assignment. And remember, you have to make sure you're in the HTML editor. It looks very similar on the surface, right? If we go back to regular text editor, it looks kind of, the block doesn't really change. But make sure you're in HTML. It won't work if you put it into just a text editor. It's almost like a behind-the-scenes thing we're doing here. So Command-V, we just paste that whole thing in there. You don't really have to mess with any of this stuff. If you want to get a little more creative, you can play around with the dimensions that this wall, this box, will take up on your Moodle page. So you may have to play with that a little bit, determine how much room you have to work with, width-wise, height-wise. But you can play with those numbers here. So for this particular thing, I just happen to know because I've done it a couple of different times, I'm going to change this to like a width of 700. So I want my Padlet wall to be 700 pixels wide, 700, whatever that unit is, wide. And then what's really cool about Padlet, you don't need to worry too much about the height in Moodle because it will automatically create infinite space on that wall and make that space scrollable. So this is not an actual bottom of the Padlet wall. It's a placeholder. As soon as you start to add content and you drag it down below the bottom, it'll automatically make your Padlet wall longer. So you can see now I'm able to sort of scroll through my stuff. So the height doesn't really matter that much because it's just going to automatically make it longer as needed. So I'm just going to maybe just to make it kind of rounded, I'm going to change it to 500. All right, so now we've got the code in there. Here's what it looks like. Save and display. One quick glitchy note about Padlet as it works with Moodle, and you're going to see this happen right now. If you notice, as soon as I hit save and display, nothing happens. I don't see anything. There's nothing here. It's just a blank space. For some reason, you have to refresh the page once after you could put that code in to actually see it in action. Okay? So now here's my Padlet wall. Okay. So as you can see, it's only kind of taking up half of the space here. I'm going to make it a little bit wider, but not too wide because I have to remember that I'm working on a widescreen monitor right now in my office, and the monitors that people might see this on might not be as wide as mine, and so Moodle is not the best with that. It might not look the same on every screen. So you have to just be aware of that as a creator of this. But with that being said, I am going to change the width of this just a bit. So I actually have to go back to, this is a thing on Moodle I can't stand, but you have to go back to this page to actually edit this assignment settings. And then go back in. So here's my wall, right, that I just was working on. Go back into the code, right, and here's the code again. And I'm going to change this width setting. I'm going to say, let's just try 1,000. You'll kind of get a sense for what these numbers represent after you start playing around with it. And again, there's that glitch, so you got to refresh. All right, that looks a little bit better. Kind of takes up more space. I like that. Now, I've embedded the Padlet wall into Moodle, so I no longer need to go back to Padlet. Everything you need to do is right here in Moodle. So my doc is right there available for me. This is the actual wall that I was just looking at over here, right? It's this wall that we were just playing with over here in Padlet is now in Moodle. So it's great. So now I can write on it, students can write on it, anybody can write on it. It's awesome. Right now it's a little boring. I'm going to change the background. So this little icon usually represents the settings. So I'm going to go in there, wallpaper. You can upload your own files to be the wallpaper or choose one of these fancy backgrounds that they got in here for you. I either like the train or the sunset. They're both quite nice. So now already this Moodle page is starting to look a little nicer in my opinion. It's not just text. It's got some visual qualities to it. And I can now just mess with this Padlet wall. I don't have to worry about like going back into the Moodle editor all the time, which I love. I can't stand the cumbersome process of editing pages in Moodle. So let's go ahead and add, oh, here's this content I put down here earlier. Let me delete that. You can delete anything that you've put on the Padlet wall by mousing over it and using the trash can button. You can also use the edit button to go back in and write more things. So those two buttons are great. So we're going to delete that. Awesome. So now here's the activity that we're hoping that you'll do. So use the 7 steps from design thinking from the resources page to do one of these 3 things. So the first thing is revise an 1104 studio assignment to suit your class. Okay, so I'm going to title this Padlet wall activity. activity for project assignment redesign. Maybe make this box a little bigger by dragging the corner. There we go. Redesign. Why does it underline that in blue? I don't know. Let's see what it says. No, I'm going to stick with what I did originally. I'm not going to change. All right, so I'm going to put that right in the middle. Remember, you can drag your tiles around wherever you want. Okay. So the first thing I was thinking about as I was trying to transform this activity into a more sort of online-friendly activity is, when it's asking people to revise an 1104 Studio assignment to fit your class, I want there to be a link there to those 1104 Studio assignments. I think that would be a really, useful thing to have right here. As we're asking you guys to do this, I want you to be able to click on something and go right to those assignments so that you don't have to open up a different Moodle page and kind of go through that whole process. I'll do it for you. And so I'm going to go back up here to my I opened Moodle in a new tab so I could get to different places. I'm going to go to our projects. I'm going to go to our, oops, actually that's in development. I'm going to go to our 1104 development course. All right, and here's all the studios, right? They're all right here. So I'm going to grab this link at the top, Command C again, back to my Padlet wall, and I'm going to put this link right in. Bam! When you submit a URL link, give it a few seconds. It will sort of think about it for a second, then it will generate a thumbnail for you. Unfortunately, you can't change the thumbnail. As you can see here, I'm not sure why it chose the banner icon for Moodle Summer. I don't love that, but it gives you what it gives you. But I can still title this link, click here for 1104 projects, okay? So then I can just kind of put this up here wherever I want to put it. I could center it like this. I could put it over here if I have other things I want to write. I can do all sorts of different things with it. So the way that works, links on here works, is Padlet tries to generate the links in its own kind of mini browser. So when you click it, you'll notice that it kind of pops up in Padlet. Doesn't always work the best. It's not really a full-blown internet browser, so you can't really rely on this built-in browser. It's more of like a thumbnail viewer than anything else. But there's a button that says View Original. If clicked, will take you directly to the thing that you just linked to. Okay, so that's excellent. It's just more convenient for your audience, right? When you're thinking about redesign, you want to really put yourself in your audience's shoes and think about, what are they going to want? What are they going to need? What's going to make this process easier for them, less cumbersome, more engaging, and more easier for them to access? So ease of accessibility is really good. All right, so I have that. Still don't really have the directions up here, though, so I'm just going to drag this over here for a second, get it out of the way. So what do I have the directions? I'll probably just write those out in text. Directions for blended learning and practice activity. Okay, so that looks good. And again, this is a great place to write with your students. I'm just going to copy this whole thing. No need to rewrite all of that. I'm just using text. Okay, so now we've got the directions, which look really nice. Kind of put those there. We'll kind of put the 1104 link to the projects right there. Kind of make that look a little nicer. At the bottom of this, it asks you to please post what you've created to the forum so that others can view and provide feedback. So once again, thinking about designing where you want your students to go, what you want them to do, it's so important. You have to think about those pathways and how you can get them to go there. I find that to be super effective and useful. So I'm going to actually go back over here, back to Moodle, my courses. I'm going to go to projects. I'm going to go into the, open up a new instance of the blended learning, thing. So the forum that we're referring to there, it's hidden at the moment. Actually, it hasn't been created yet. let me make that real quick. So I'm going to make this forum. This is kind of not relevant to what we're doing here, but real quick. All right, so I'm just going to make this just for the sake of, I'll go back and edit this after. So in the assignment, you're asking students, you're asking you guys to post to this forum. Again, we want to make it easily accessible, so I'm going to copy this link And I'm going to go back to my Padlet wall, and I'm going to put then a link to actually, I'm just going to recreate the directions. Right. I'm going to go back in here, and I'm actually going to take this out. Command X, Shift Control X, and I'm going to put it in here like this. And then I'm going to add a link to the forum. Oops. I copied something new, so I have to go back and get the forum link again. Keyboard shortcuts, I love you. Okay, sorry. So submit, again, remember it's going to generate that thumbnail. Again, I don't know why it's picking that image, but whatever, we can't really change that. So here's the directions. Here are, actually I might move these up here to kind of set them off from the forum, and then here's the sharing forum. All right, so that's a basic overview. There's so many other cool things that you can do with Padlet, but that's the basic idea. And a quick recap. You start on, as you can see, this is Padlet.com, right? They're the same thing. It's embedded. So whatever happens here, right? They're the exact same thing. It's also a great trick if you're using teaching multiple sections of the same course. You put one Padlet wall in one section, and then you can write directions that appear in all sections instantaneously. It's quite amazing for that. Anyway, so quick recap. Start off with Padlet, make your wall, share, export, copy the code, back to Moodle, edit, make sure you click the HTML box, and then you can put your HTML embedded Padlet wall right there into Moodle. Great tool. There's a few other fancy little tricks you can do with it that I'd be happy to talk more about later, but I hope that video helped you, and if you have any questions, you can always stop by or just talk to me about this or anyone. Yeah, so it's great. Thanks.